be our review 1 for our unit test that's coming up. And here at the start, we're just going to be looking basically for mean, median, and mode. Now again, we got to remember what all these things are. Mean. Now what's mean again? Besides me sometimes. Add them all together and divide. It's like finding an average. So when I have my list, they don't have to be, when I'm trying to find the mean, they don't have to be in order. But I do have to add them up and divide by how many numbers I have. And normally if I wasn't having to click here, I'd be checking these off as I go, because that way I make sure I don't forget what's going on. 10, 3, 17, 1, 8, 12, 15, and 11. Looks good. Right, because I see that there are 9 numbers there, and just because you get something that might be like a decimal doesn't mean you did something wrong. So we'll go ahead and we'll just list that in. So 83, add them all up, dividing by the number of numbers, 9. I'll even make a little note of that over here so we can see where that came from. And that's going to be our mean.
Just the whole one?
Yes. Yep, 83 divided by 9. 9.22. So, then how do I find the median? Yes, get all the numbers in order and we find the one in the middle. So I'm always going to go from least to greatest, and this is why it's important as I'm doing these to check them off, A, so I don't forget one. Oh, I'm already being told what it is. That's impressive. And right. So if I start working my way towards the middle, when I get to the middle, if both of my writing utensils end up on the same number, that's my median. It's 10. If there were 2 middle numbers, I just add them up and divide by 2. And that might happen here soon. Now this will be interesting. Now, what's a mode? Yes, it's the one that happens most often or most frequently.
No. Why do
Right.
we use colors?
That's going to come when we're doing the box and whisker plots. They'll be coming soon. But yeah, here, if all my numbers, if I don't have one that shows up more than once, I really don't have a mode. And that can happen. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen sometimes. But those are the 3 things that I'm trying to find when I do these. So let's see. I'm going to move around a little bit because I don't want to do the same thing and same thing and same thing. Drive you crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to move down to 3 and 4 here for just a second. Let me shrink this down because number 2 would be similar to what we did in 1. So it says the data shown below lists the heights of the basketball players in the varsity basketball team at Y High during the 2005-06 season. Well, that was a while ago. Find the mean, median, and mode of these heights. Heights are given in inches. Okay, so again, when I'm trying to find mean, median, and mode, again, I don't have to worry about the order when it comes to mean yet. Now, if you want to put them in order, because you know you're going to have to later anyway, I can see why you'd do that. But otherwise, I'm just going to take the numbers as they are, and this gets a little tricky because it's the same number showing up a lot. Got a lot of 6-foot people here. Kind of a short basketball team. All right, so we add all those up, we end up with 870. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Got 12 numbers. So my mean height is 72.5 inches, 6 foot and a half inch to boot. Now my median, again, before I can figure out what my median is, I have to put the numbers in order. So let's see here. 68, that's the smallest. 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 72s are going to be next here. So I'll make sure I get all those. 73, 74, and 3 75s. And I'm good to go. But again, once I have them in order, did I do? Yep, I got 70 right there. Make sure we got the same number here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we're good. And we'll start counting in from the edges, but this time I notice I have 2 numbers in the middle. But lucky me, it's the same number. There you go. Normally I'd add those 2 up and divide by 2, but they're the same number, so I know it's just going to be 72. Speaking of 72, what number occurs most often? 72. So that's also my mode. Okay, only the one that shows up most often. It doesn't mean if it just shows up more than once we consider it. Only the one that shows up the most. Now, 4 is a little bit different. It's kind of weird. We have to get a little creative on 4. Make a set of 9 data numbers so that the mean is 12, the median is 14, and the mode is 8. This one, I'm going to star this one. Number 4. I'm not going to put this as part of the regular assignment because it may take some time and I want to spend our time doing the basics, so I really have you ready for this. But if you can come up with something that makes this work, I'll basically give you almost another assignment's worth of extra credit because it's going to take a little thinking. But if you play with it a little, I'd do it in pencil though, because I think I'd even have to do it in pencil to make it work. Okay, now we finally are going to start to get into some things with our colored pencils here in a moment. So find the quartile values for the set of numbers below. When I'm doing this though, I always, am probably going to be coming back to this because, well, it's a graphic way of me organizing what's going on. So it's, what do I have to do here? I got to list the numbers in order from least to greatest. Okay. That, I believe, would be in the Tuesday folder if you need one of those. And so I've got to put my numbers in order first because it's awfully hard to get my information otherwise. So I'm going to be cautious here. Oh, I almost messed up. 17, then 18. 22, 24. Okay. What's that? Why didn't we
do number 4?
Because I put that in as extra credit because it's guess and check, and I knew what would happen with guess and check. I would do all the guessing and checking, and you all would look at me. So I went past number 4, and I offered it up as extra credit if you get an answer that works. Because I wanted to spend most of our time doing kind of our box and whisker and type things, just so we've really got this down. So once I get all my numbers in order, my next job is to find the median, okay, and then we'll split it up. Like I said, this is where the colors are going to start coming into play. So I start working my way to figure out what value is in the middle. Make sure I'm doing this right. Yep. Okay. There's my number in the middle. There's my median. My median is also called Q2. They're interchangeable. Once I have my median, those numbers on each side are going to allow me to find my Q1 and my Q3. So for Q1, if I get those numbers and I start to work towards the middle, whatever my median is of that first set of numbers is going to be my Q1, my lower quartile. Why is it 9? Because that's the median of my lower half of my numbers. All of the numbers below the median.
So you cross out 13.
Well, I don't cross out 13, but that's the median. I don't use the 13 when I'm finding my Q1 and my Q3.
What's Q2? I don't care. Why can't you just add all the other dividers?
Because we're not finding the mean. 13, my Q2, median and Q2 are the same thing. This is why I'm going to keep stressing.
I cannot see, that's why I was asking.
Well, and I apologize that you can't, but I can't make it any bigger.
Right?
If you, I don't know, maybe, would it help like if you had a seat and just kind of move to the side of my desk here? You can, but I can't make it any bigger. Okay? But again, like we were saying, as a couple of you asked, Q2 and my median, okay, are the same thing.
So would it be Q1 be?
No, medians. Medians are what we are looking for, just like on here.
So you're going to have 3 medians?
Yes, because they have names. The median in the middle is my Q2. The median of the lower part of my numbers over here is going to be my Q1, and that's what we just found. That was our 9. And then right, my Q3 is the median of my upper half, which in this case is 18. Right. So once I have those, then I'm ready to start finding my values. Now again, find the range and interquartile range for the data in question 5. Range is my lowest extreme, in other words, my littlest number, to my upper extreme. What's my biggest number, and how far apart are they? Well, my biggest number is 24, and my smallest number is 6.
I thought it was lowest.
What's that?
I thought it was lowest number, the highest.
Well, I could, but then my range would be a negative, but I guess you could work the same thing, and it'd still be 18, and it'd just be negative 18. That would be okay. But it's just going to be my biggest and my smallest with range. For interquartile range, and we talked about this before, I'm going to do my Q3 minus my Q1. So 18 minus 9. So notice I'm not doing the extremes, it's just those two medians that I'm subtracting. And I've got that. And then it says make a box and whisker plot. Well, now I've got all my information, so I shouldn't have too hard of a time doing this. So I'm going to make a number line. And I want to make sure in my number line that I include my smallest and my largest value. Now 6 to 24, I'm not real excited about making like 18 lines here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to count by 2s. And I think I'm going to start at 0 here. Because I'd always like to include a value or two that's less than my absolute minimum. But by counting by 2s, I'm not going to have to use as many lines. And I'm just going to squeeze this in, I think. So I get my number line drawn. And like I said, this is where we're going to go into color mode, so we can actually see what's going on with each of the parts. So the first thing I'm always going to draw in, I'm going to draw in my median. My median, we found out before, is at 13. And I'm just going to put a vertical line in there about where 13 would be. And I put it a little above my number line because that's where my box is going to be. My Q1 was at 9. So I'll put another vertical line in there. And my Q3 is going to be at 18. So I'm going to put 3 vertical lines in there. Looks like 3 ones, kind of. And once I get those 3 things put in, I'm going to go ahead and connect them and make a box. Hence the word box and whisker. Now my whiskers come from my extremes. My lowest value, which is at 6, and my highest value, which is at 24. And then I just connect them to the box using a line. And that's it. It's just another way to put my data in a form. So that's how these work. Sure. Well, I can explain that. A couple of things. Whenever you're doing statistical data of anything, now again, some of you may say, I'm not going to be a statistician. This can be something you can use in business if you were trying to figure out, what days customers in, what are they purchasing, how much do I need to purchase, because you don't want a lot of inventory in stock. Let's see, more uses for mean, median, and mode. I'm trying to think of a couple more that are business type off the top of my head, because those are the 2 I come up with immediately. The biggest thing with these, and I'll say this a lot in any of my math classes, because I'll have students in my Algebra 2 even sit there and say, why are we learning how to shade stuff of a parabola? Because unless somebody's doing this specifically, and here's...
These questions every year, don't you?
Yes, I do. And I'll answer them in basically the same way.
You use all this stuff when you become a math teacher.
Yes, and some of you... Well, and here's my bigger answer to it. Here's my bigger answer to it. In Algebra 1, if any of you are ever going to do anything and own a house and you're going to need to have carpeting put in, you're going to need to paint a wall.
Why you hire a carpenter?
But if you don't know the math, they can rip you off, and that's what happens to too many people.
I think we know how to count.
And it also means, but look around, you have males that don't know how to do this stuff either.
Well, I'm going to find a man that's going to do it.
But again, that's usually not the best route to go, to always depend on somebody else to do things that you could do. But in a bigger picture reality type thing, a lot of you really need assistance with problem solving skills in general. That's what math does more for you than anything. Also, what math does is it challenges you to think outside of an area that you're comfortable in. Because if every time you get challenged on something, you just tell somebody else to do it or you quit, you're going to have a lot of issues with a lot of things. Not only in life, but relationally and other things like that. That's what I try to keep explaining to people. When you're reading a book in English class from like somebody that wrote it in the 1800s, there's applications to that you can make to today. Not that we drive around on little boats and walk everywhere because we didn't have cars. That's not the point. The point is trying to get you to think, problem solve, and expand your way of thinking to give yourself options if you need to. If you're right now we're doing it trying to understand how something like this would show me different data, but it's like everything in life. You're going to have people.
When are we going to use this at work?
Again,
I don't down and draw a box.
let me ask a question. Okay, let me put it in this way to try and make it make a little more sense. Do you think at whatever job you have for life, you are going to fully enjoy and be 100% on board with every single thing that your boss asks you to do? Probably not, because I definitely don't in this job either. That's the other part of it that I bring in, that I normally don't mention right away, but I will in this case. There are things I've got to do here, hopefully for the betterment of what you guys do, but that I've got to do whether I technically agree with it or not. And a lot of times what I'll end up finding out later is it helps me in some way to either be a better teacher or to learn how to kind of fight through crap I don't want to do, which does happen at times. And that's another thing that goes along with this. Part of the diploma, when you get it here, whether you get it in college or wherever it is surviving what it is you have. The math I took in college to get my mathematics degree, I haven't used any of it since I was in college because they give you a general view of things, so if you go in different directions, you have choices. With my math degree, I could have been an engineer. I chose not to be. I could have been an accountant. I chose not to be. I chose to go this route, and they would make fun of me in class because they would say, "Woo, you're going to be doing baby math for the rest of your life." Okay. But it gave me some push on things like this to have to push forward. I do math problems that were 9 pages long. I don't do them anymore, thank goodness. But I had the ability to do them if I needed to. What if you're doing something now and you decide in 3 or 4 years you want to do something where you do need the math, and you're like, oops, wish they'd have told me to do that back then, which people come and say to me all the time. It's just giving you options. It's giving you more options on things is all it's doing. You may not see the options now. I'm telling you. I have students every year, because Courtney says, do you get asked this every year? Yes. And then do I see students out and about when they're out in the working world and stuff, and they're like, ooh, I kind of see what you were talking about now. Well, good. I'm glad you did then. It may take 5 or 10 years for you to see it, but hopefully you do sometime. How's that? I agree. I concur with that. But I'll tell you, even when they are doing that, because I know some teachers over at Jefferson where they're doing it now, there's still going to be parts of curriculum that aren't, not 100% of the curriculum is going to be strictly to a career front. But some of it would be. I'm with you. I totally agree. They shouldn't shove everybody into the exact same track of things. I'm 100% in agreement. Huh? Yes, but there are a lot.
Technically, they don't write it. The machine writes it.
But there are a lot more applications for Algebra 1 than a lot of you are giving yourselves credit for. Huh?
This argument with my dad.
Okay. Everybody has choices.
Nothing uses algebra.
Okay. Then nobody ever has any money issues or anything like that because the interest you get in a bank or pay, algebra.
Thank you.
We're actually going to skip number 8 because we haven't done stem and leaf plots. We're not going to do it. We can do the rest of these, though. Find the range of data. Okay. Well, to find the range, what's the biggest and smallest score that Mr. Peasley has?
So we don't do 9
No. We can find the other stuff, but we haven't made stem and leaf plots. We don't need to make a stem and leaf plot to find this. So what's my smallest and my biggest number that we've got here? 65 and 95. Okay. So minus them, and that'll give me my range. To find my quartile values, though, I need them in order. So I'm going to do this. Now, when I get to be bigger lists like this, I always get nervous. I'm going to start missing things.
Do we have to do all that?
Well, you could just guess and put some half-hearted number down, hope it's right. You could. I know. I mean, there's how many? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16. It can be a bit challenging. Well, but if you don't, I don't think we're going to have a very easy time finding the median of the different parts if we do. And it can get to be frustrating when there's something that you don't necessarily want to be doing or that you don't necessarily get. That's where it happens most often. And it's okay, but it's easier to just shut it down. I agree with you. But when you just shut it down, what tends to happen a lot of the time is you end up stuck back having to do it anyway. And look what just happened to me. They're like, what happened to you? What number's not checked? 68, See, I distracted myself and I missed a number. That's why it's good that I check them off, because even though, like that, so like Harty, you missed another one over here.
You start talking to me so like the big one.
I know.
That yourself.
Get myself distracted and just mess all kinds of things up. So once I've got my list, again, I don't want to get fooled by data. Shoot, there's people out there that's going to try and mess me up with numbers for all my life. I don't want them doing it. So I'm just going to kind of keep working my way towards the middle. I will get there. My Q2 value, my median, is 84. That's my number that's in the middle of my list.
I have 83.
You have 83. Well, let me double check again and make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I believe that is absolutely going to be correct. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 7, 8. Yep, you're right. You're right. There's 2 this time. So I got to add them up and divide by 2. And what do you get when you add them up and divide by 2? Okay, 167 and divided by 2 and you're set. 83.5. Okay. Now, I will do this part since I did the boo-boo here, and I don't want you guys to have to do something for it. If you get a median, and this happened when we did it in our note sheet on Tuesday, I'm going to have to re-jot down some things. And I'm actually going to do it in colors so I can see it a little bit better. So all those values that come before I had my box here, okay, that's my lower quartile. That's where I'm going to find my median of that, and I'm going to get an answer. And I'm going to do the same thing with all the values that are after. Those 2 numbers that I boxed in. We're going to actually be to that in just a second here. What I'm looking for in these Q's, these numbers that are below are going to be my Q1. And so if I start counting towards the middle, whatever value I get for that's going to be my Q1. And then I do the same thing for my group after the box. And that's going to be my Q3. So to find my interquartile range, once I have those, I do Q3 minus Q1. 12. And that's what we're up against. We are going to skip number 12 entirely because it bases off of the stem and leaf plot, which again we sort of gave a little bit of a pass to here. Oh, I sure can. Because 13, you're going to be happy because they already give us the plot. We don't even have to do it. We just got to get the information from it.
Isn't it 25% for B?
Nicely played. Yes. Well, good. Okay. So when we get down to 13, and I hadn't mentioned that yet today, but I'll mention it now, but we've talked about it before. When you're doing a box and whisker plot, it's cut into 4 parts. This whisker's 1 part, this is 1 part, 1 part, 1 part, 4 parts. If you divide 100% of your data into 4 parts, 100% divided by 4 is 25%, which means each piece of this contains 25% of the data. Now you're like, well, wait a minute, but they're not all the same size. That's true. I may have a lot of numbers in one little area and not many in others. So when I'm going through looking for this, okay, what's the median golf score? Well, let's see. What else can I tell here? I know my first bar is always Q1. I know my second bar is always the median. And my third bar is always Q3. That's the same in every single box and whisker plot I ever do. So when I'm doing this, and it asks me what the median golf score is, what number's at the median line? 80. 80 or 80.0, right here. And then this question already got answered, but we'll talk about it again here. What percent of the data is between 45 out here, it doesn't even start out here, and 65? Just this whisker. So just 25%.
What is it?
25%. What was the highest score about recorded at the tournament? What looks like my upper extreme number? Yeah, about 99. If somebody said 98, I'd go with that too, but 99 sounds good.
How do you know?
Because it's whatever this upper extreme dot is. Whatever dot's furthest to the right is the one that we're looking for when it says the highest score.
Colby, stop.
Okay. Upper quartile. Where's my Q3 at? Eh?
No, it's 100.
Eh?
90, it's a 90 again.
Where's Q3 at?
It's like 89.
It's like 89. Okay. And then finally, what percent of the data is between 65, okay, here, and 89? 50. Between here and here, I have 25 and 25. That adds up to 50. So all that I think out of this whole thing you have to do is number 2? Shoot, that's not bad. And then we'll do